For 8 seasons, from 1960 to 1968, The Andy Griffith Show gave viewers one of the warmest and most comforting towns television had ever created. It was not a story about rich people, big city drama, or famous lifestyles. It was about a small fictional town called Mayberry, where life felt simple, people knew each other, and problems were often solved with patience instead of anger. At the center of it all was Sheriff Andy Taylor, a calm and wise widowed father raising his young son Opie with the help of Aunt Bee. Beside him was Deputy Barney Fife, a nervous and hilarious lawman who wanted to be brave, but was usually afraid of almost everything. For millions of people, Mayberry became more than a TV setting. It felt like a place they could visit every week. But after the cameras stopped rolling, the lives of the cast members moved in very different directions. Some found even bigger success, some faced illness and heartbreak, and many are no longer here today. This is the story of what happened to the cast of The Andy Griffith Show. The Andy Griffith Show premiered on October 3rd, 1960, and quickly became something special. It was a comedy, but it was not loud or wild. It was gentle, simple, and full of heart. At a time when America was changing fast, Mayberry gave people a peaceful escape. The show ran for 8 seasons and produced 249 episodes. It became one of the rare shows to end while still sitting at the top of the ratings, which is something very few series in television history have done. Long after its final episode, the show continued to live on through reruns, DVDs, streaming, fan events, in the real town of Mount Airy, North Carolina, where Andy Griffith was born. Fans still visit Mount Airy because it reminds them of Mayberry. But while the fictional town has stayed alive on screen, many of the actors who made it so beloved have sadly passed away. Number 1 is Andy Griffith himself, the man who played Sheriff Andy Taylor. Andy Griffith was born on June 1st, 1926, in Mount Airy, North Carolina. He came from a working-class family, and his early life was not glamorous. His father worked as a carpenter, and his mother took care of the home. As a young man, Andy was not known as an athlete or a perfect student, but he found confidence through music. He learned to play the trombone, discovered his singing voice, and began to feel that performing could become his future. He later studied music at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill before moving toward acting and comedy. Before he became the sheriff of Mayberry, Andy Griffith had already found success on stage and in comedy. He worked in New York, performed in theater, and became known for his storytelling style. One of the biggest turning points in his career came when he worked with Don Knotts in No Time for Sergeants. The two men had natural chemistry, and that connection later became one of the most important parts of The Andy Griffith Show. Andy was calm and grounded, while Don brought nervous energy and chaos. Together, they created a perfect balance. What many viewers did not know was that Andy Griffith's life was not always as peaceful as his characters. Behind a friendly smile, he dealt with pressure, anxiety, and the weight of being the lead star of a hit show. Carrying a series with his name on, it was not easy. He wanted the show to be good, and he cared about the tone, the writing, and the atmosphere on set. He also wanted people to see him as more than just Andy Taylor, even though that role followed him for the rest of his life. After The Andy Griffith Show ended in 1968, Griffith continued acting in television and film. Some of his projects worked, while others did not reach the same success. Then, in 1986, he found a second major hit with Matlock. In that series, he played Ben Matlock, a smart and folksy defense attorney who solved cases with charm and intelligence. The role reminded many viewers of Andy Taylor, but in a courtroom instead of a sheriff's office. Matlock became a huge success and gave Griffith another long-running television legacy. Andy Griffith kept working well into his later years and remained one of the most respected figures in classic television. In 2005, he received the Presidential Medal of Freedom, one of the highest honors an American citizen can receive. But by 2012, his health was declining. On July 2nd, 2012, he suffered a heart attack. The next morning, July 3rd, 2012, Andy Griffith died at his home on Roanoke Island, North Carolina. He was 86 years old, and his wife Cindy was with him when he passed. One of the most surprising details about his death was how quickly he was buried. At his family's request, he was laid to rest on his private property within hours of his passing. His grave is not open to the public. In the end, the man who gave America the peaceful world of Mayberry returned to the privacy of his North Carolina home. He began life in North Carolina, became a national treasure, and then returned there for his final rest. Number 2 is Don Knotts, the unforgettable actor who played Deputy Barney Fife. Barney was nervous, dramatic, overly serious, and often completely unprepared for the job he thought he could handle. But that is what made him so loved. Don Knotts turned Barney Fife into one of the funniest characters in television history. Don Knotts was born on July 21st, 1924, in Morgantown, West Virginia. His childhood was difficult and painful. His father suffered from mental illness and alcoholism, and Knotts grew up in a home filled with fear. He was anxious as a child, bullied by others, and afraid of conflict. But he discovered something powerful early on. When he made people laugh, they treated him differently. Comedy became his protection. It helped him survive fear and turn pain into performance. Before The Andy Griffith Show, Knotts worked as a ventriloquist, stage performer, and television comedian. He appeared on The Steve Allen Show and became known for his nervous, wide-eyed comic style. When he reunited with Andy Griffith for The Andy Griffith Show, the role of Barney Fife seemed made for him. Barney's fear, overconfidence, pride, and panic all felt real because Knotts understood those emotions deeply. What made Barney Fife so special was that he was not just a joke. He was funny, but he was also human. He wanted to be respected. He wanted to be brave. He wanted people to see him as important. His mistakes came from insecurity, not cruelty. That made viewers laugh at him, but also love him. Don Knotts won 5 Emmy Awards for playing Barney, and his performance became legendary. After leaving The Andy Griffith Show, Knotts continued working in films and television. He appeared in comedy movies, guest roles, and voice projects. He never fully escaped Barney Fife, but unlike some actors who resented their famous roles, Knotts seemed to understand how much the character meant to people. Barney gave audiences laughter, and that laughter became part of his legacy. In his later years, Don Knotts faced serious health problems. He developed pulmonary fibrosis, which later became connected to lung cancer. He kept much of his illness private because he did not want it to affect his work or the way people saw him. Even near the end of his life, he continued making jokes. According to his family, he was still making people laugh while he was in hospital. That feels fitting because laughter had been his gift from childhood until his final days. Don Knotts died on February 24, 2006, at Cedars-Sinai Medical Center in Los Angeles. He was 81 years old. Andy Griffith was among those who came to see him near the end. Knotts was buried at Westwood Village Memorial Park Cemetery in Los Angeles. His grave honors his comedy and his ability to find humor in human weakness. He turned fear into laughter, and in doing so, became one of the most beloved comic actors of all time. Number 3 is Ron Howard, who played Opie Taylor, Andy's young son. Ron Howard was born on March 1, 1954, in Duncan, Oklahoma. He was only 6 years old when The Andy Griffith Show began, and viewers watched him grow up on screen. As Opie, he was sweet, curious, honest, and sometimes confused by the adult world around him. His scenes with Andy Griffith often gave the show its emotional heart. Ron Howard appeared in more than 200 episodes of the show, and even at a young age, he showed unusual focus and professionalism. What many fans may not know is that Howard was interested in far more than acting. Even as a child, he wanted to understand how shows were made. He once told people on set that he wanted to become a writer, producer, and director. The adults around him took that dream seriously, and he began learning about cameras, storytelling, and production at a very young age. After The Andy Griffith Show ended, Ron Howard faced a challenge that many child stars never overcome. He had to grow up in front of the public and prove that he could do more than play Opie Taylor. He succeeded by joining another classic show, Happy Days, where he played Richie Cunningham. Once again, he became part of American television history. But acting was not his final goal. By the early 1980s, Howard began moving behind the camera. He became a director and eventually built one of the strongest directing careers in Hollywood. His films included Splash, Apollo 13, A Beautiful Mind, The Da Vinci Code, Frost Nixon, Rush, and many more. He won Academy Awards and became known as one of the most dependable filmmakers in the industry. He also helped create Imagine Entertainment, a major production company responsible for many films and television shows. What makes Ron Howard's story so different from many of his co-stars is that The Andy Griffith Show did not trap him. It launched him. He respected the show and always spoke warmly about Andy Griffith, but he built a much bigger career beyond Mayberry. As of 2026, Ron Howard is still alive and still active in entertainment. He remains one of the strongest living links to the early days of The Andy Griffith Show. The little boy who once played Opie became one of Hollywood's most successful directors. Number 4 is Eleanor Donahue, who played Ellie Walker in the first season. Ellie was the town druggist and one of Andy Taylor's early love interests. Many viewers thought she might become Andy's wife and Opie's stepmother, but the show eventually moved in a different direction. The writers realized that Andy worked better as a widowed father surrounded by family, friends, and a larger Mayberry community. Because of that, Ellie Walker was written out after the first season. Eleanor Donahue was born on July 19, 1937. Before joining The Andy Griffith Show, she had already become famous on Father Knows Best, where she played Betty Anderson. She was not new to television and already had years of experience. Her time on The Andy Griffith Show was short compared to the main cast, but she remains an important part of the show's early history. After leaving Mayberry, Donahue continued working in film and television for many years. She appeared in different roles and built a steady career. She did not become tied to Mayberry in the same way Andy Griffith or Don Knotts did, but classic TV fans still remember her fondly. As of 2026, Eleanor Donahue is still alive and retired. She is one of the few remaining cast members who can still look back on the early years of the show from personal memory. Number 5 is Jim Nabors, who played Gomer Pyle. Gomer was sweet, simple, friendly, and unforgettable. His voice, expressions, and innocent personality made him a fan favorite. He started as a supporting character on the Andy Griffith Show, but audiences loved him so much that he received his own spin-off, Gomer Pyle, USMC. Jim Nabors was born on June 12, 1930, in Sylacauga, Alabama. Before becoming famous, he worked behind the scenes and performed in nightclubs. His big break came when he was discovered and cast as Gomer. The character could have been a small role, but Nabors made him memorable. Gomer's innocence and kindness fit perfectly into the world of Mayberry. After leaving the Andy Griffith Show, Nabors found huge success with Gomer Pyle, USMC. He also had a beautiful singing voice, which surprised many people who only knew him as the goofy mechanic. He released music, performed live, and became a beloved entertainer. Later in life, Nabors moved away from the spotlight and lived privately in Hawaii. Jim Nabors faced health problems in his later years and lived a quieter life away from constant public attention. He died on November 30th, 2017, at the age of 87. His death was deeply felt by fans who remembered the joy and innocence he brought to television. Gomer Pyle remains one of the most recognizable supporting characters to ever come out of the sitcom. Number 6 is Frances Bavier, who played Opie Taylor. Aunt B was the warm heart of the Taylor home. She cooked, cared, worried, advised, and gave the family a motherly presence. She was not just a side character. She represented home itself. Frances Bavier was born on December 14, 1902, in New York City. Before becoming famous on television, she had a long background in theater. She was a serious actress who had worked on stage long before Mayberry made her a household name. As Aunt B, she became one of television's most familiar and comforting figures. What many fans may not know is that Bavier lived a private and sometimes lonely life. She never married and did not have children. Her work was a major part of her identity. After the Andy Griffith Show and Mayberry RFD, she eventually moved to North Carolina, where she lived quietly. She bought a home in Siler City and spent her later years away from Hollywood. Frances Bavier died on December 6, 1989, at the age of 86 from complications related to chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. She was buried in Oakwood Cemetery in Siler City, North Carolina. For many fans, Ampy still represents comfort, kindness, and old-fashioned family love. Even though Frances Bavier lived a private life, the character she created became part of millions of homes. Number 7 includes the other memorable Mayberry faces who helped make the town feel real. George Lindsay played Gomer Pyle, the friendly and funny mechanic who became an important part of the later years of the show. Annetta Corsott played Helen Crump, Andy's serious and intelligent love interest who eventually became his wife in the story. Betty Lynn played Thelma Lou, Barney Fife's sweet girlfriend. Howard McNear played Floyd the Barber, one of Mayberry's most lovable town characters. Jack Dodson played Howard Sprague, the nervous and quiet county clerk. Hal Smith played Otis Campbell, the town drunk, a character who became surprisingly loved by fans. One by one, many of these actors passed away, and each loss felt like another piece of Mayberry disappearing. George Lindsay died in 2012. Annetta Corsott died in 1995. Betty Lynn lived a long life and passed away in 2021. Howard McNear suffered serious health problems during the show's run and later died in 1969. Jack Dodson died in 1994. Hal Smith also died in 1994. They were not all main stars, but together they made the town feel alive. Without them, Mayberry would not have felt like Mayberry. Even though so many cast members are gone, the Andy Griffith Show has never truly disappeared. It still airs in reruns. People still stream it, buy it, talk about it, and share it with younger generations. Fans still travel to Mount Airy, North Carolina, to experience the real-world town connected to Andy Griffith's life and the spirit of Mayberry. There are festivals, fan clubs, podcasts, and communities built around the show. That is the strange power of television. The actors grow older and pass away, but the characters stay exactly as they were. Number 5 is Jim Nabors, who played Gomer Pyle. Gomer was sweet, simple, friendly, and unforgettable. His voice, expressions, and innocent personality made him a fan favorite. He started as a supporting character on the Andy Griffith Show, but audiences loved him so much that he received his own spin-off, Gomer Pyle, USMC. Jim Nabors was born on June 12, 1930, in Sylacauga, Alabama. Before becoming famous, he worked behind the scenes and performed in nightclubs. His big break came when he was discovered and cast as Gomer. The character could have been a small role, but Nabors made him memorable. Gomer's innocence and kindness fit perfectly into the world of Mayberry. After leaving the Andy Griffith Show, Nabors found huge success with Gomer Pyle, USMC. He also had a beautiful singing voice, which surprised many people who only knew him as the goofy mechanic. He released music, performed live, and became a beloved entertainer. Later in life, Neighbors moved away from the spotlight and lived privately in Hawaii. Jim Neighbors faced health problems in his later years and lived a quieter life away from constant public attention. He died on November 30th, 2017, at the age of 87. His death was deeply felt by fans who remembered the joy and innocence he brought to television. Gomer Pyle remains one of the most recognizable supporting characters to ever come out of a sitcom.